Question 10. Call on the Honourable Member for Douglas Central, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Pursuant to his answer in September, what information can the Minister for Infrastructure, what information does he need to seek from Manx Utilities in respect of sewage treatment options, and what investments need to be made and schemes implemented in coming years for the area covered by the Area Plan for the East?
Call on the Minister for Infrastructure to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for his question. I can confirm the information that needs to be sought from Manx Utilities in respect of sewage treatment options includes the following. An update on the progress of works for the remaining sites in the east within Phase 2 of the Regional Sewage Treatment Works, or RSTS2, particularly those proposed for the sheathing of Garth. As we now know, Manx Utilities' planned application for its treatment works in Laxey was declined, and Manx Utilities are taking the opportunity to discuss further options with the community. Secondly, updates on local sewage treatment refurbishment schemes planned for Crosby and Glenvine. Those schemes are not part of RSTS2. And thirdly, the resources and costs associated with planned schemes and timescales associated with each of the above. In terms of investments that need to be made for the area covered by the Area Plan for the East, the planned investment in sewage in relation to Garth will be over £7 million, but expenditure would be considerably higher than this if pumping away from the Manx Utilities' preferred treatment sites forms part of the final solution. Pumping away in this context means pumping to alternative sites within the sheathing of Garth, not pumping to Maryveg, which will be contrary to the current direction of Tynwald. Manx Utilities has budgeted £4 million to refurbish the existing treatment works at Crosby and Glenvine. The public inquiry into the Area Plan for the East discussed the constraints for the provision of additional sewerage facilities, particularly for Baldrine and Laxey. All sites identified within the plan can be adequately serviced. The plan states that where necessary, some proposals will need to show that the servicing authority will accept such new connections. In all cases, there must be sufficient information provided to permit the servicing authorities, such as Manx Utilities, to assess network impacts and requirements properly. Planned investment for the sewage works remains the responsibility of Manx Utilities. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and to the Minister for that really helpful answer, which deals completely with the projects in Garth and the Central Valley. Can the Minister advise whether the issues that are identified around Portashee, Lower Douglas, Western Onchan, Western Douglas more generally have actually been considered, and are they still under investigation by his department and by the entity he chairs as well?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I appreciate a little greater detail from the Honourable Member when he refers to the issues and lists those places. Can you be a little more specific, please?
Supplementary question, Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can help him out for the Onchan area. But the question I want to ask the Minister is there a strategic plan and policy in place with the Department and the MUA looking at the whole island's sewage and foul drainage system, and can he circulate that strategic policy to all honourable members?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much. I'll restrict my answers to talking about sewage, if I may, Mr Speaker, seeing as that was the scope of the question.
It's a strategic policy for sewage.
Sewage.
Apologies, Mr Speaker.
Interim Minister.
Sewage. So the strategic policy for sewerage is the Regional Sewage Treatment Strategy Phase 2, which is Tynwald approved, and it has a budget that's publicly available, and that is the applicable policy. It's already in the public domain.
Supplementary question, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm very delighted to try to help the Minister, but there's no need to reply today. But I think the National Infrastructure Strategy actually talks about the Western Douglas and Onchan sewerage issue, and there have been lots of floodings in Portashee, Douglas Avenue. My garden floods, and it looks remarkably suspicious what comes into gardens. So I think there's lots of evidence, so I think it's something to take up afterwards with the Minister to confirm. We can have a meeting about that.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Yes, I'm very happy to engage with the Minister directly on this topic. I'm very concerned to hear that his garden is flooding, and we'll see what we can do to help with that.
Fertilisers
The National Infrastructure Strategy was reviewed in 2018, so that's pretty current. But specific issues such as that, which may be operational or rather than strategic, I'm happy to pick up directly with the member.
Supplementary question, Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I wonder if the Minister would allow me to join the other honourable member at that meeting, because one of my concerns is combined sewerage systems, so it would be helpful to meet with the Minister to make sure that this is covered.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm happy for Ms Edge to join with Mr Thomas when we meet. Combined sewage and drainage systems are a part of our infrastructure. They're a legacy of how our infrastructure has evolved, and they are something that we have to live with. And where they can be separated, sewage and the drainage, that's clearly a good thing. But it's a very easy statement to make and a much less easy one to address. But I'm happy to meet with both honourable members to discuss specific issues.
Final supplementary, Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. And just for the avoidance of the doubt, would the Minister accept that as I live in the Lower Douglas Hills Meadow Valley, the issues are not operational, the issues are strategic, and they're to do with how the sewerage from the Central Valley, from Western Douglas, from the northern part of Douglas is handled, and all of the strategic options that have been ruled out over the years. So the only reason I mentioned my garden was a little bit of light-hearted banter, because the issues are strategic about how sewage is mixed with other waters around Western Douglas, Western Onken, and in fact all the way up through to Glencrutchery.
Minister to reply.
I've no reason to disagree with the honourable member's statement. I don't have the technical knowledge to debate it, but I'm happy to engage.